Hey everyone, welcome to the Franchising 360 show. I am Tim Parmeter, and with me, as always, is Danielle Wright.
Hello.
Danielle and I are here. We are going to talk to you about all things franchising. We're going to take, as they say, a 360-degree view of this fantastic industry. It is rarely what people think it is, and more attainable than people realize as well. One of the things we've talked a lot over the, 4, 5, 6 months of doing this show about becoming a franchise owner. But today we're going to focus a little bit more on what it's like to be a franchisor, especially at the beginning.
Wait.
Oh, but wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more.
Yes. Hi, Danielle. I'm Tim Parmeter,
so
co-host of the Franchising 360
on
show.
On Friday's episode with you, our viewers. Thank you for showing up. We have some exciting news to share.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about becoming a franchise owner, and guess what? Our co-host wrote a book. How does it feel to be an author?
It's kind of cool. So yeah, no, like weirdly, it's something I always wanted to do, but I'm like, what the heck am I going to write about? I don't know nothing.
But you do.
But I still wrote the book anyway. So
I'm a franchise owner. So there should be a link or a QR code or one of those fun little things. Go get a copy. It's on Amazon.
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever you buy your books, it is there.
If you want an autographed copy, send us a message. We'll shoot you one.
Yeah, the first, basically send us a message on francoach.net and we'll send you an autographed copy, which will be worth nothing. Thank you very much. No, it's super cool. I'm glad to be able to have that out there. And then my cheesy dad joke is I can say I literally wrote the book on becoming a franchise owner.
Now back to
what we're going to talk about. This is more becoming a franchisor. And in December, I think it was, we actually talked very high level of some of the things that you needed to do to become a franchisor. Today we want to focus on, okay, well, you did, yay, good for you.
Yeah.
Now what? So I know there's a lot of now what's with that, but people tend to help people become a franchisor and then just hope they can figure it out, and we want to educate them on basically what happens next.
We recently had this conversation with some colleagues of ours when we were at an event, and the question is become a franchisor, or I became, or I paid, or there's a lot of different lingo when it comes to that. But if you've taken your business and you've created the necessary documentation to offer your franchise to someone that wants to open it in their market, then that's when you've become a franchisor. So I think there's a lot of questions into like you said, what's next, but how do I get an owner, or what do I need to do? I've now paid to be a franchise. I'm stop saying I paid to be a franchise. You invested your
you invested in your business
to scale it,
and now you have that franchise, and you want to have franchise owners, and maybe somebody out there read a book about becoming a franchise owner, and they're like, hey, I need to become a franchise owner.
Here we go.
So, but we a bunch of things to talk about, what's next and how that works.
Yeah.
But we can't miss the greatest feature of this show,
which is
our Friday night franchise fun fact with Danielle.
I love that you can say it without getting your tongue all twisted.
So, and brought to you by FranCoach. Once again, maybe one day we'll get a real sponsor, but until then, it's FranCoach.
It's our Friday fun fact.
So what do you got for us?
What? It's not a fact, it's a question.
Ooh.
Are you ready?
Yes. Was that the question?
No, it's not the question. What is the largest franchise globally?
The largest franchise globally.
Yes.
Okay. What do I get if I get the answer right? Well, I want to say McDonald's, but that seems silly.
First answer is the answer you gotta go with. Can't get multiple answers. You gave an answer.
I'm going to the Marriott.
Wrong.
What is it?
Subway.
Oh, that's an easy one.
See, I told you it's going to be we had this debate, but what's the answer going to be? And I'm can't tell you the answer. I said, am I going to be surprised? Nope. Are you going to be oh, okay, yeah. So they have more locations globally, which make them the largest franchisor.
Wow. Okay.
Let that sit with you. Go get your 5-inch sub from Subway.
Well, first of all, it's been a while since you've been to Subway because it's a 6-inch sub or a foot long. Maybe we can get the Fran Coach Signature Series sub at Subway.
Maybe.
Perhaps.
Or not maybe. It's a fun fact, right?
That was a fun fact, and one I didn't know because you wouldn't tell me before we came on the air what it was. When we talked about becoming a franchisor, there were 3 things that you're talking about. Like we need proof of concept, we need the operations side, which people tend to forget about, and then the FTD that everybody like kind of, oh, you need an FTD, you're a franchisor. But now what? So that's what we're going to come back to next. You can kind of share. There's numerous things that people have to think about that they don't know about, which is why we're here to educate you on franchising here on the Franchising 360 show. Right back after this. Hey, welcome back to the Franchising 360 show. Tim Parmeter, this is Danielle Wright again, and focusing a little bit more tonight on the franchisor side and becoming a franchisor. And we talked very quickly, and we had an episode on this back in December that if you missed, shame on you, but you can go to the Fran Coach YouTube channel to catch all past episodes. 3 kind of things, proof of concept, the operations side, and then FDD.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna
bam, you have a franchise. Mix them all together, and here you are.
In a really fast fashion, what does that mean? The proof of concept, operations, and the FDD.
There you are. I just said boom, fast. There you are. You're now a franchise. Yay!
Right. So, but there's like in the proof of concept, right? Like.
You've actually operated this business.
You've done something. And then the FDD, the franchise disclosure document, I think people...
Now I've got the legalese of
get that. The piece...
how this partnership is going to work.
The piece that people tend to forget trying to become a franchise owner is the operations side. Why is that important?
Because I got to be able to tell you how to do it.
Yeah, what? But it's funny, like it feels like people tend to forget, they kind of gloss over that. Well, I know how to do it. So then every other person that comes in will...
I don't know that they gloss over it. I think like you said, proof of concept, hey, I've been doing it, so I forget about the small pieces that really actually matter. And so if you have an operations manual, it's meant to get into the nitty gritty of today is Monday at 8 a.m. I wake up and I flip the light switches on. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what an ops manual
is. The things that we've done so often that we like, I could do it on my sleep.
Right.
But to really be able to document every last little bit of that, right? So now we've done those things and we're franchisor. What are some of the things like that you think about now from there, in particular the founder, because this becomes a tricky point for that person, right? Like, because is it fair to say they're kind of running 2 businesses at this point?
Yeah. Okay. So now I know where it took me a minute. Founder, what are we talking about? So typically when a franchise starts, it's started by the original creator, and there becomes an inflection point along its growth that you're like, hey, you need to back out of it. But the first thing that when you're saying, hey, I want to become a franchise, really get in your brain, you're going to be running 2 businesses.
Yeah.
And not 2 locations of a business that you already have, but you are going to be running
very
different businesses that have similar things to them, but totally different operational guidelines.
Right. Because it really is, it's the existing business that you created, and congratulations for doing the service, for doing that, right?
Doing the thing, providing the thing, doing that stuff.
But now you're a franchisor, so you've got a whole different side of sales, marketing, operations, right?
And
all of those
customer support. So remember, the thing that we talk about on the franchisor side of the business, which you're not as familiar with, is that your franchisees are your customer. So whatever forward-facing customer you're giving your product and service to, that's a customer in that vertical of business.
Right.
But your franchise owner or your franchise partner, which is what I like to say, is the customer on the franchise division of your business. And so you have to remember that you can't be mean to this customer.
Right.
This customer pays you just as much as this customer pays you.
Right.
So it's something that they have to think about.
And that kind of owner founder person really needs to try to figure out like which hat they're going to wear, because they can't do the old Superman concept of like, no, I can still run my existing locations. I can do franchise sales, operations, support, right? I'm awesome. I can do all. Right? They try to, right?
Think about it from any entrepreneur that starts a business. I'm doing all of the things, and what is the one thing that I get from every single person? No one's going to do it the way that I do it. Well, that's how you're going to stop yourself from scaling.
Right.
Whether you're going to franchise or not, whether you're going to grow to 15 locations or not, that mentality has to be stripped away, because you're right, no one's going to do it the way you do it 100% of the time. So you have to separate those two pieces. So founders need to, and I don't know that they need to be aware. That's my word for the year is aware. And so be aware,
I'm aware
that I love it when you bring jokes and comedy into it. Like, this is a way of getting me to shut up. And so ultimately you have to be aware of where your time is being committed and where you want that growth to occur. Do you want it to occur at the unit level, or do you want it to occur at the franchise level? Because what was the point of becoming a franchise?
Right.
If you're gonna, like, if your unit is the unit that is going to drive all profitability for the business.
And we talked last week about understanding the cost and the fees to get started as a franchise owner, and making sure that you're understanding all aspects of it, where to find it, and be properly prepared. I feel there are times people become a the franchisor, and they focused on that beginning. I got my proof of concept, I've got my ops,
and they've worked really hard,
and the FTD,
and now they want out. Like, they really,
right? And they think,
I've done this, I'm done.
And they're coming to the table from there, and they're like, well, I don't have any more money to spend, so I have to do all of this stuff. But they are going to need more money and more people and more support. And I want to talk about some of the ways in which they can, like, they don't have to do it all, and how they can find
franchising. That's why people get into franchising. Why? So I'm not alone.
Right.
I'm with a group of people, and I think that's the reason why we stay in franchising, is because you're not alone. You're accompanied by many of people that have been in the same position that you are. That's the joy of what the industry is.
Yeah. So a little bit more on the what's next once you have established that franchise, and kind of how you can continue to grow it from there. That and more on the Franchising 360 show when we come back. And welcome back to the Franchising 360 show. We are focusing on new franchisors tonight, and some of the challenges, some of the mistakes that they make. And I think one of them can be probably undercapitalized a little too much boot and strap going on, because they're not thinking about what's next once just becoming established as a franchisor. Like, I'm gonna ask you a really, like, kind of random question that maybe you can't answer, but like, how much money would somebody need, and like, all right, I've become the franchisor. Yeah. Now what from a financial, like, how much money do I need in my pocket to make this really go?
A lot.
Great, let me write that down. A lot. But for, like, and again, I know you can't really give me an answer for that, but talk about for some of the things that they're going to need that for.
But I'll challenge back to you. It's not how much money do I need to do this. It's like everything. What's the end in mind, right? And so what's your goal? Do I need to sell? And I know everyone talks about awards, and you are selling something. They're signing something. They're giving you money. That's a sale of something. So I am selling a franchise. How many do I want to sell? How many can I support? Right. There's so many questions in and around that. And I would challenge any business owner that's going to say, hey, I would like to franchise my business. Just like we talked in the investment side for a franchisee, there's an initial investment to become a franchise. That's all of the stuff that you were talking about. Right. Then there's the ongoing investment that you are going to put into the business to get to a space, and there's a metric in regards to how many owners do I need to be royalty sufficient,
right? Which is the real goal. So you're not putting more money into the business,
not putting money into the business. And the same thing would apply over here. Like, what's my return on my investment? When do I break even? Yep. And so if my break even of my business operation is this, then I have a break even of my franchise business that includes that initial investment. But if it costs you, like we were talking about, X amount of dollars for each franchise I onboard, and I'm having to put that money in and I'm not getting it back for 2 years, I need to think about, you can work the economics, or as you would say, that math, to get to how much money I would need over a 5-year period of time.
And there's no wrong answer. It's like a franchise owner, you can have two owners in the same system. One has a single unit, maybe it's, kind of like average performing based on the rest of them, but they're super happy it's hitting all their goals. The next owner wants to own half the state with that. But understanding that as a new franchisor, hey, what is there? Do I want to beat Subway and be the largest thing in the world?
And Subway didn't happen overnight either. So
nope.
I think the reality is, and we hear this a lot in what we do, is there's the SMART goals,
right?
SMART growth. So what is it that you can truly support to get those owners to be, and we hear a buzzword a lot called responsible franchising. Don't it. There is a validity to it. How do you help people get on board?
Right.
How do I find that owner? I mean, really, we were at an event, I had a lot of franchisors we need owners. Well, they came to our event because why? You're a Fran Coach.
Right.
What does Fran Coach do? But how likely are you and your team at Fran Coach when you're looking at a brand that has 50 to 100 owners operating to a brand that has no operating franchise partners? They may have the best corporate P&L ever, but how likely are you to show that to a client that has the fear, has the concern, all of those things?
Right. And I think that the founder gets stuck in the oh, look how pretty my baby is, right? It's the
100%.
Oh my gosh, I got the best.
Got the best brand. It's
whatever it is.
It's every other competition. It is amazing.
Correct. And then and kind of to piggyback off what you said, right? Yes, it is, but understand that you're one of 4,000-ish other franchises out there. Or when the person asks me that, I'm like, well, yes, we can, but I wouldn't hold your breath for that, because we're at Fran Coach, we work with 700 franchises, and it has to be the right fit, and somebody might really be much better with a more established brand, somebody that is going to be more emerging, that's a different person.
There's a feeling in the industry for working with consultant groups like yourself, and there are a lot of them out there.
Right.
Let's be clear. I get a lot of franchisors that think that that's their quick fix to getting franchise owners, and my consulting and coaching to them is, it's not. You're better to figure out what your dollar spend is, go find those brand believers, and start small always. And you hear the stories of 100 units in a year, that's great, but the reality is, if I have 100 franchise owners, all individual franchise owners, that's 100 personalities that a franchisor has to manage, and their businesses.
Right. Manage, support, and that's going to cost money.
Can you, as one person, if so, why didn't you just develop 100 locations?
Correct, right, and that's where that was the UG on the responsible franchising, is that some of the brands that talk about that are the ones that are not growing responsibly. They're hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of units sold without remote infrastructure to support
getting them open, or their first year of these franchise businesses are not reaching their potential.
Correct.
Because of it.
Right, so. Which again, when you're thinking about becoming a franchisor, we want you to think of some of these things, so you're asking the right question.
Services, right? What we do on my side is we're coaching CEOs, founders, how to do this, how to grow, but do it, for lack of better words right now, the responsible way. Right. How do you do smart growth? And sometimes it takes that mastermind, that coaching, that hey, let's take a couple of weeks to really, who are you now? What can we do? And where can we go?
Yeah. And I know on both sides for us, when you're consulting with franchisors and we're working with potential franchise owners, we're actually asking the harder questions of them versus oh my gosh, you're so pretty, this is so amazing. You have, if you're talking to somebody that is always telling you the positive, they're probably trying to sell you something. Right. And before we go to break, I want to bring up a quote. Peter Ross, the CEO of Senior Helpers, we had on a few months ago, and I've heard him say this numerous times: the number one job of a franchisor is creating happy franchise owners. But
you got to get them first.
You gotta get them. We're gonna hit up a little bit more of this when we come back here on the Franchising 360 show. Welcome back again to the Franchising 360 show. We are talking to you aspiring or about to be franchisors or new franchisors out there. what's next once you have kind of established your brand as a franchise. And Danielle, I think maybe one last thing I want to throw at you is, you've been doing this for 15 years, almost all on the franchisor side, either working directly like with them or for them, or now consulting with them as part of your company and part of Fran Coach doing this. Somebody's in that space, and the majority of what you're doing, your sweet spot is that emerging brand, right? What's maybe one piece of advice that you find holds pretty true for those newer brands? Be
thoughtful and take your time. Like, if you are becoming a franchise because of, hey, I need cash, I need capital, and you don't have the money to invest in it, don't do it.
Yeah.
Like, don't rush to award franchises because you need it from a money perspective. It's not going to be the right partnership, and 10 years from now is how long the agreement is. You're going to be wanting to find a way to no longer be partnered with that person. So just be thoughtful, and like you said, on the money side, like I say a lot, because just that will keep you from making bad decisions that you pay for later.
Right. Well, and I would think, and I've heard you say this a lot to those emerging franchisors, even before that, like, it's not just proof of concept.
Yeah.
Like the there's a misconception, and I think there are people that sell it this way, quite frankly. Like, oh, let me get you an FDD and you're a franchise. Yes, that's the whole point of this. Then what? You need to be well capitalized and well planned out for that.
That's the legal stuff, right? So I think that always comes last, and it should only, like, when you start dating someone, you're not saying, here, let's review this document together, right? Like, this is what this prenup needs to look right. Like, it's the same thought process as I'm dating you. I need to like you. I need to make sure that we're aligned on a culture. Like, there are all of these things. FDDs are important. They are important.
Right.
They are the thing that is going to determine, when I don't want to be married to you anymore, this is how this is going to work. But everything before is just making sure that, hey, I have what I need to have to support this relationship going forward.
Yeah. And to be clear, when you said that you don't want to be married to me anymore, that was just as an example. That wasn't a real statement.
I'm sorry that you're taking our professional conversation and turning that into something else.
Shoot. Okay, cool. So I'm like, that was an awkward time to say that, but okay. But no, there's so much to it, and again, I think part of why, like, we do this show and we have Fran Coach, and you and I are always super aligned on this aspect of franchising, is just properly educate people on what this is. There's so many amazing things out there that can be done.
You do the right things, you'll get the right people, and you'll grow your brand in the right way. So,
and quite frankly,
rights generally don't make a wrong. And I know, because I'm a right.
Oh, goodness gracious. And on that note, folks, if I know we had you really wanted to work with us and have us help you, but it will be fun along the way. francoach.net is where you can find any of us for all of these things. Definitely check out our YouTube channel, which is, I'm going to put it right there tonight. And then next week, we are going to talk a little bit more about the other side of this, becoming a franchise owner, and see what that looks like for you. Until next Friday, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, here on BizTV, that is Danielle Wright.
That's me.
I'm Tim Parmeter. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week.